Hi everyone, this is Brad Hennigan with the ELC. I am the instructional designer here at the Spring Creek campus, and today I want to introduce you to some new features in Turnitin. We will be staying with Turnitin as our plagiarism checking tool. As some of you may remember, there was talk about potentially moving over to a new tool called VeriCite. However, while we were evaluating VeriCite, Turnitin actually bought VeriCite. So the good news is that Turnitin incorporated the features of VeriCite into Turnitin, and so you now have more options with Turnitin depending on what you need from Turnitin and how you use it. So let's take a look at a couple of Turnitin assignments. I'm here in my sandbox right now. I'm going to go ahead and publish everything right there in that module that I have called Turnitin Examples. And I have two assignments. One of them is Turnitin as the external tool, also known as the LTI. This is the tool that we have always had with Turnitin. Then we have a new tool with Turnitin where you can use Turnitin only as a plagiarism checker. What are the differences between the two, and in what situations would you use either one? Well, with the Turnitin as an external tool, the main reason that you would continue to use Turnitin in this way is if you use Turnitin's feedback and grading tools. For instance, if you've built up a nice big library of grade marks that you use on a regular basis to drag and drop when you're commenting on student papers, and you want to continue to use that library, then you would need to continue to use Turnitin as you always had in Canvas. You may also use Turnitin's peer review feature, in which case you would also want to continue using the external tool. You may have built rubrics inside of that grading tool. Basically, if you simply want to keep using the grading tools or the peer review tools that you've already created inside of Turnitin, then continue to use Turnitin as the external tool. If you only want to use Turnitin as a plagiarism checker, but want to use Canvas's speed grader as the means by which you grade student papers, then you can use what Turnitin calls their new plagiarism framework. I'm going to go ahead and run through how to set up each of these kinds of assignments. Most of you already know how to use the external tool side of it, but I do want to just run through this real quick for you. So I'm going to go into the external tool version first. I haven't done anything with this assignment as of yet. So to set up Turnitin as an external tool, you click on Edit, give it a point value. Under Submission Type, I'm going to choose External Tool. Then I'm going to click Find and scroll down until I see Turnitin External Tool and select. When I click Save, you'll see the same assignment inbox that you always see when you set up a Turnitin External Tool assignment. So now let's go back and look at Turnitin as a plagiarism checker only. So in that case, I'm going to click here. I'm going to edit. I'll give this assignment that same 100 points. This time under Submission Type, instead of External Tool, I'm just going to choose Online. And you have two choices in order to activate the plagiarism checker choice. You can have them do a text entry or a file upload. Either or. That pops up this new choice here, Plagiarism Review, in which case you can choose Turnitin. It's going to open up a small suite of tools here where you can tell it where you want the student's papers to go, how you want the similarity report if you want it to exclude small sources. For those of you who have used Turnitin extensively, you'll recognize most of these. When do you want to show the originality report to students? Immediately, after it's graded, after the due date, or never? One of the reasons that you may choose to use the framework is if you have students work in small groups to write a paper that you want Turnitin to plagiarism check. Turnitin framework works very well with small groups. It's as simple as that. So what does it look like when students upload a paper? So I'm going to jump over into the student view, and as the external tool, and of course, as we all know, because the Turnitin external tool requires a valid email address in order to work on the test student side, you can't look at the Turnitin assignment from test student. But as the plagiarism checker only, because it's a tool that sits on top of SpeedGrader, I can show you what it looks like. I'm just going to choose a file somewhere here. Let's do my lasagna recipe. And I'm going to submit the assignment. Whoops, got to agree to the pledge. And that assignment has been submitted. So when I leave the student view, I can see over here 0 out of 1 submissions graded. When I go to the SpeedGrader for this assignment, I can see the assignment right here in SpeedGrader. I have all of the tools available to me that you would normally have in SpeedGrader for making comments and so forth. You can highlight and comment. You can strike through and comment. A nice suite of tools for grading here in SpeedGrader. As you can see, right next to the name of the document that I uploaded, we have a little timer. The similarity score has not quite finished processing yet. Let's see what happens if I hit refresh on this. And there it is. I've clearly used this before as an example because it's returning a 100% plagiarism score. But when you click on this, you will then be able to see the originality report. Click over here to see where it's talking about. You notice that grade mark options do show up. However, if you come into the originality report and use those, the student will never see them because this is not saved for the student's purposes. In order to do your grading, you'll need to come to the SpeedGrader. This is only for the originality report. Another way that you can use the plagiarism checker is in a final draft situation. If you need the students to be able to see their plagiarism report before they turn in a final draft, you can set up 2 assignments, call one of them draft and call the other one final draft, and use the plagiarism framework for the first draft. And let me show you how you might set that up in order for it to work for you. If any of you have used Turnitin with drafts, you know that it can be a bit challenging. One of the main things that you want to do if you're using it as a draft is to tell it to not store the submitted paper. It will still return a plagiarism check for the students, but that paper will not be stored in Turnitin's database. When the student goes to turn in the final draft, in the final draft assignment, you would put it into the standard paper repository, and from that point forward, it will be compared to every other paper that's turned in. If you put standard repository on a draft, then it's going to compare itself to itself when the student does the final draft, and that doesn't help you out at all. So that's about it. Again, just to reiterate, if you want to use Turnitin's feedback and grading tools, continue to use the external tool version. But if you only want to use it for plagiarism checking, then you might consider using the new plagiarism framework tool. As always, if you have any questions about this or anything else related to teaching your students, whether it be online or in your face-to-face classes, please don't hesitate to call the ELC. That's what we're here for. Have a good day.